It seems that in the past couple years, the Roblox front page has become a little poopy, to say the least. It's not exactly an unpopular opinion at this point. Pardon me for bringing out the boomer in myself here, but the front page 10 years ago was a lot different than how it is now. I feel like back then Roblox was kind of about experimenting and being creative, and making what you wanted to make, not making a game for the sake of getting easy clicks for the front page. The kind of games, or experiences, that blew up back then were often innovative or unique in many ways, and I think that's why so many front page games from this era are just so memorable. A lot of the iconic games from 10 years ago were often crazy, unique, and out of this world. There's literally a game that lives rent-free in my head to this day about a Kool Aid man that goes around killing people.
Oh yeah! Can I ask you a question?
Seriously, this does not just fade away in memory after a decade. But besides the Kool Aid Man, there were countless games that I can remember from literally 10 years ago. Like, for example, this game called Deception Infection. It's basically a combination of murder mystery and zombie survival. The infected humans have to infect everybody, but the infected look no different than the humans. Another example, this game is called Humans vs. Arthropods, which is about a post-apocalyptic battle between humans and giant bugs. Then you have other games like Snake Pillar, a game about a giant snake statue that comes to life and tries to kill you for taking its treasure. Or Survive the Lava Flood, a game where you have to run through an obstacle course to escape a wave of lava. And I'll let you know, this game was hard. Like, I came back and replayed it, and some of the levels are legitimately challenging even a decade later.
Oh, there's a climb. Oh, fuck me! Oh, fuck me, like, why? I'm dead.
Oh, I died.
The balls!
The ball.
The fucking ball!
Also, you have some other gems in there that were incredibly influential, like Ozzy Pig's Hunger Games, which was the first game in Roblox to really utilize the Hunger Games format, or Star Battle's COD Zombies games, which were, as I'm concerned, the first instance of a COD Zombies copy on Roblox. Then you have Lakeside and Hospital Roleplay, Survive the Monorail Crash, Roblox Titanic, Survive the End of Roblox, multi-mini games, The Stalker, Survive the Disasters, and the occasional Area 51 copy and paste game. But there was also a peculiar game that caught my attention, rather recently actually, Zeppelin Battle. Zeppelin Battle was created in 2008 by a man known as McCare Warrior. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. Either way, it really caught my attention at one point because a few years back, I looked back at my old favorites list and I said to myself, man, I remember how awesome this game was back in the day. Will they ever remaster it? And they did remaster it, but you know, that's why we're here today. Remaking old games, or taking inspiration from old games, hasn't exactly been a new concept in Roblox, or media in general, you know. But back then, people were really creative with game concepts, so I mean, I can see how one can find the appeal in remaking older games. If they did good 10 years ago, who says they won't do good 10 years later? Yeah, you always have your passion projects, like games that simply just want to recode the old experiences. However, you'll also see some reboots or sequels of older games that completely change the source material for modern audiences. Also, I think that it's important to note that another very important reason that Roblox games get remade, it's because old games on Roblox are extremely prone to breakage in terms of like scripting. So yeah, in May of 2020, a guy named LolKiller decided that it was Zeppelin Battle's turn to sit at the cool kids table. The game, as well as its creator, had sat derelict in Roblox over several years. Although the creator does have the alpha tester badge for Zeppelin Wars, which implies that he has to be, at the very least, okay with LolKiller remaking the game. Another thing that I found regarding the original game is by snooping through McCare Warrior's inventory, you'll see that he actually intended to add new features to Zeppelin Battle, but he just never got around to it. Anyways, back to Zeppelin Wars. Alright, so since we've already discussed a brief history of Zeppelin Wars, I think it's about time that we discuss the actual gameplay, what I like about it, and what I dislike about it, as well as a few other critiques. Now, in terms of gameplay, Zeppelin Wars borrows the concept from its decade-old predecessor, but it does add enough features that allows it to be judged on its own merit. The gameplay itself is solid, but the fact that Zeppelin Wars actually bothered changing things up is something that I can't take for granted. I mean, some games don't even bother adding new features. You know, we've talked about this before. Anyways, just like the original, there's two teams, Air Pirates and Air Patrol. I really like how he kept the old Ohio State Police logo from the original game too, that was a nice touch. Anyways, as you guessed it, the objective of the game is to destroy the opposing team Zeppelin. However, Zeppelin Wars also added a leveling system, which opens up the doors to new weapons and equipment as you progress.
So we finally...
Zeppelin Wars is, just as it was 10 years ago, a team-based game. There's two classes to choose from, pilot and crewmate. Pilots are tasked with flying planes, shooting down opposing planes that are trying to bomb, as well as infiltrating and planting bombs on the opposing Zeppelin. The crewmates, on the other hand, assume the defensive role. They're mainly tasked with repairing the Zeppelin, manning the guns, and killing intruders. While pilots are mostly armed with handguns, the crewmates are armed with rifles and shotguns, which gives them a clear advantage over them at face value. Honestly, the simplicity of having two classes is actually a good strength of the game in my opinion. Having two clear defined roles of defensive and offensive allows the game to be simple and easy to understand, yet still interesting because each side has a lot of things that they can do. Like, for example, the pilots can place bombs, they can kamikaze, they can destroy the fire extinguishers, torpedo bomb the tanks, shoot down other planes, and even turn the opposing team's mounted machine guns against them. The crewmates can repair, defend, broadside, put out fires, board and kill, spawn trap, or be the backseat gunner on the bomber planes. The countless amount of possibilities in the game, as well as the class customization, easily makes the game replayable, all while simultaneously being easy to understand for new players. The game's basic mechanics aren't exactly difficult to get the hang of either, as they're kind of self-explanatory. You know, bomb causes explosion, tank explosion starts a fire, fire is put out with fire extinguishers, etc., etc. As I've already mentioned, another aspect of the game I thoroughly enjoy is the customization. The original game only had 2 guns, not counting the mounted turrets, and Zeppelin Wars, however, has a vast assortment of firearms and melee weapons, which are unlocked via level progression. Everything that's considered essential by the game's developers is unlocked by level 30, however there's also small reskins or modifications available in the store. Think of these skins like Echo Fighters from Super Smash Bros. It's different, but only slightly different. While Zeppelin Wars flies on its own pretty well, I think it's also worth acknowledging how faithful it is to the original. The basic gameplay elements from the original are incorporated faithfully and expanded on in a way that's appropriate for modern audiences. Not only did they keep the original elements like the Zeppelin layout, Turtle Island, the classes, etc., they also added new mechanics like fire extinguishers. Interestingly, I don't think that any element from the game was particularly left out. I mean, even the change team command is still the same as it was 10 years ago. However, with all these positives, I feel like it's definitely worth mentioning the negatives. After all, no game is perfect, especially a Reboot sequel. First of all, the leveling system is extremely grindy. It takes about 465,000 XP to get from level 0 to level 30, and you get like 3,000 XP for winning a classic match and 6,000 for winning raid as pirates, so obviously you're going to be grinding for a while. Part of Zeppelin Wars that allows it to be more engaging than the original is the vast majority of weapons that you get to choose. However, you're stuck using the same weapons for a while until you actually have them all unlocked. It's kind of annoying having to continuously grind over and over just to get a weapon that you probably won't even like, such as some shitty rifle. I feel like if Zeppelin Wars required less XP to level up, then it would be a lot more entertaining. The game has basically fallen into the modern Roblox formula of countless grinding with little payoff. Basically, if Zeppelin Wars had a leveling progression system that wasn't so grindy, it would be a lot better. Perhaps if the amount of XP required to level up was decreased and instead a prestige system was added instead, then things might be a lot better. Also, it would give incentive to continue grinding after level 30. Also, the game modes. The game only has 2 modes, Classic and Raid, and it kind of feels a little weird, because Classic kind of gets old after a while, but Raid also gets old after a while. Raid is often acknowledged by both the developers and the community as a mostly patrol-sided game mode, which is why pirates get twice as much XP for winning it. If we're being completely honest, I feel like Raid feels a little almost out of place. It's almost like they essentially were planning to add more game modes, but never got around to it, so we just have these 2 game modes on the front. Usually games will have like 3 bonus game modes to accompany their standard classic mode, however Zeppelin Wars just has Raid. I mean, it's not like Raid is even that good compared to classic at all. It's kind of just boring, and I don't even know why it's really there. It also takes a long time to complete because you have to wait for the Zeppelin to get to the end of the level, which, if you couldn't guess, takes literally forever. Also, you can kill the NPC captain, which temporarily stalls the ship. Another critique with the game that I thought was worth mentioning is toxicity. Like, yeah, I know every game on Roblox is going to have toxicity in it, that's just how video games work, but toxicity and Zeppelin Wars community seem to be closely tied. I mean, come on, they give us 9-year-old kid death threats.
I sadly have to inform everybody here that the person known as Tomato has COVID-19, and while at the hospital, his younger brother has taken control of his account. I simply request everybody here does not contact his account till we can establish contact.
Also, please stop sending death threats to his little brother in #deleted_channel or anywhere else. He's literally 9.
Also, there will be punishment for it.
If we have heard of you sending death threats to him, you will be banned.
Effective as of this announcement.
Running across toxicity in the game really isn't all that uncommon, and I think it's worth addressing because I believe that I and a lot of others would play the game a lot more if it wasn't such an issue. I mean, the creator kind of acknowledged it himself, saying,
"As I noticed that I haven't talked about this in a while, I'll do it now. The situation the community itself is in right now, you may have noticed that I have not been involved in this. Am I stepping up for it? No. Am I doing anything about it? Not really. Why? There are reasons why I no longer want to deal with it as much anymore. At this point, the community is past mending. It became hopeless that I no longer want to bother with it. As of now, I let the administration director Phil roll as a Discord holder now, while I focus on the game itself."
It seems every day you get on, there's always going to be a form of toxicity in this game. People blaming their teammates for losing, people calling their team trash, or patrol spamming easy in chat after they win by spamming harpoon boats in the raid game mode. There's also a rabbit hole of community drama that I found myself falling into. I'm not going to go over that because that's kind of pointless. In short, toxicity is an issue, and it genuinely does kind of start to get annoying after a while. And I'm not just being over dramatic, because in my opinion, I come from like the ghetto of Roblox community, so toxicity isn't exactly like a stranger to me. Alright, so in conclusion, Zeppelin Wars is, in my opinion, a pretty good example of how to reboot a game. In all honesty, it isn't really perfect, however, it does do a good job at setting an example of what a Roblox reboot should be. It isn't a cash grab or made unfaithfully, and it isn't a simple recoding either. It's a legitimate, faithful reboot that was made by somebody who had an actual passion and proper understanding of the source material. And I'm actually kind of thankful for that. Hopefully we get more Roblox reboots in the future, and they follow up and improve on Zeppelin Wars' model quota. Faithful as a reboot and solid as a game. If you want the links to some other old remastered games from this era that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, come check out some of the links in the description. I found out that they're actually really enjoyable with a group of friends. Anyways, that was my review on Zeppelin Wars. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, maybe give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe. That's up to you, your choice. Regardless, thanks for watching. Sorry that this video took so long. I've always been a big procrastinator. I also spent the past 2 weeks scrambling to turn in all my late work for school. Yeah, sorry. See you later. Bye.
There's no such thing as perfect. Huh? You're beautiful as you are, Courage. With all your imperfections, you can do anything.